Welcome back to WikiLert.
Today, the silver screen feels a little less golden, a little more shadowed by the quiet fate of a true icon who's left an indelible mark on generations of dreamers and storytellers. The news landed softly, but with deep resonance this morning, September 16, 2025, that Robert Redford, the effortlessly charismatic actor, director, and founder of the Sundance Film Festival, passed away at the age of 89 in his beloved home nestled in the mountains of Utah, surrounded by the family he cherished and the landscape that inspired so much of his life's work. He slipped away in his sleep, a peaceful exit for a man whose on-screen presence always carried a whisper of the Wild West and the weight of quiet conviction. No specific cause was shared in the family statement, but in this moment of farewell, it's the grace of his going that speaks volumes. A final scene, directed with the same understated elegance that defined his 7-decade odyssey through Hollywood. Born Charles Robert Redford Jr. on August 18, 1936, in the sun-drenched sprawl of Santa Monica, California, Bob, as those closest called him, grew up in a modest household where his father, a milkman turned accountant, toiled long hours to keep the lights on. As an only child in a tough, immigrant-heavy neighborhood, young Redford found solace in sketching and dreaming big, his artistic spark igniting early despite a rebellious streak that got him booted from the University of Colorado on a baseball scholarship. He pivoted to the stage, honing his craft at the Pratt Institute in Brooklyn and the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, where his chiseled features and piercing blue eyes quickly caught the eye of Broadway scouts. But it was the silver screen that claimed him fully in the 1960s, transforming a lanky kid from LA into the epitome of cool restraint. Think of him first as the roguish Paul Varjak in Breakfast at Tiffany's, all sly glances and tailored suits, or as the idealistic Yale opposite Natalie Wood in Inside Daisy Clover, roles that hinted at the depth simmering beneath that matinee idol facade. By the time he teamed with Paul Newman for Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid in 1969, the chemistry was electric, two outlaws trading quips and narrow escapes. In a film that grossed over $100 million and cemented Redford as the thinking man's heartthrob, the guy who could outrun a posse and still ponder the poetry of the horizon. What elevated Redford beyond the blockbuster glow was his refusal to coast on charm alone. He chased substance, diving into roles that peeled back the American myth with a journalist's precision. In The Way We Were in 1973, opposite Barbara Streisand, he was Hubble Gardiner, the golden boy adrift in love and ideals, a performance that captured the ache of mismatched souls against the backdrop of McCarthyism's chill. Then came The Sting, that rollicking con caper with Newman again, earning him his first Oscar nod, and proving he could infuse sly humor into high-stakes sleight of hand. But it was all the President's Men in 1976, playing Bob Woodward to Dustin Hoffman's Carl Bernstein, that showcased his steelier side, hunched over typewriters in dimly lit newsrooms, unraveling Watergate with dogged whispers and furrowed brows. I remember watching that one as a kid, mesmerized by how Redford made the mundane mechanics of truth-telling feel like a thriller, his quiet intensity turning headlines into heroism. Behind the camera, he blossomed too, directing Ordinary People in 1980 to his sole Oscar for Best Director, a raw family drama about grief's jagged edges that hit like a gut punch. Drawing from the losses he'd known all too well, family was Redford's North Star, the steady pulse amid the flashbulbs and premieres, though it came laced with heartache that shaped his empathy on and off screen. Married first to Lola Van Wagenen in 1958, a high school sweetheart he met through Mormon connections, they built a life in New York and later the Sundance Ranch, welcoming 4 children, daughters Shauna and Amy, son David James, and little Scott, who slipped away at just 2.5 months from sudden infant death syndrome in 1959, a tragedy that haunted Bob for years, fueling his drive to create stories that honored the unspoken sorrows. James, the environmentalist filmmaker who co-founded the Redford Center with his dad in 2005 to spotlight climate tales, fought his own battle with bile duct cancer before passing in 2020 at 58, leaving Bob to grieve publicly yet privately, channeling pain into advocacy. The marriage to Lola ended in 1985 after 27 years, but not without deep roots. Shauna became a painter whose canvases echo her father's love of light and land, while Amy carved a path as an actress and director, often collaborating on indie projects that carried the Sundance spirit. In 2009, Bob found new companionship with artist Sibylle Saggers, a union of quiet creativity that saw them tending the Utah acres together, far from the roar of Tinseltown. Off the red carpet, he was the dad sneaking in fly fishing trips or sketching birds at dawn, the grandfather weaving tales of Hollywood hijinks for wide-eyed grandkids, reminding them that life's real reels are spun in the everyday. Financially, Redford's empire was as vast and unflashy as the western skies he adored, with a net worth settling around $200 million at the end, woven from savvy investments in films like The Sting and directing gigs, plus the Sundance resort that started as a 1970s hideaway and bloomed into a cultural mecca. But money was never the measure. For him, he funneled fortunes into environmental crusades, serving as a natural resources defense council trustee and rallying against pipelines like Keystone XL. His voice a steady baritone for the wild places that healed him. Sundance itself, rebranded in 1984 from a modest Utah festival, became his quiet revolution, nurturing voices like Quentin Tarantino and Steven Soderbergh, turning indie dreams into Oscars without selling out to the studios. He'd laugh about it in interviews, that wry half smile crinkling his eyes, saying he started it to break the rules of Hollywood's clubby gatekeeping, giving outsiders a shot at the spotlight he once navigated with wary grace. There are so many vignettes that capture Bob's essence, the ones that make his absence feel like a favorite film unspooling too soon. Like the time on the Butch Cassidy set when he and Newman, thick as thieves, rigged a fake snake in the other's trailer just to hear the yelp, pranks born of that rare, fraternal bond that outlasted scripts and spotlights. Or how, after retiring from acting post-2018's The Old Man and the Gun, he'd still wander Sundance's snowy trails, mentoring young filmmakers with stories of his Broadway flops, insisting failure was just the setup for the comeback. Even in his final years, as age softened his features, he'd champion causes with the same fire, co-producing docs on climate refugees or penning op-eds on democracy's fragility. Always the artist activist who believed stories could shift the world if told true. Tributes today echo that, Jane Fonda calling him her dear friend and co-conspirator, Donald Trump dubbing him the hottest leading man, and Marlee Matlin crediting Sundance for launching Coda's triumph, proof his ripples run deep. Saying goodbye to Robert Redford isn't erasing a star, it's folding his light into the stories we'll keep telling, from outlaws on the run to reporters in the shadows. To Sibylle, Shauna, Amy, and all who held his hand through the credits, our hearts lean in with yours. May the mountains cradle you now as they did him. He leaves a legacy not of flash, but of fire, the kind that warms without scorching, inspires without preaching, and reminds us that even legends find peace in the quiet places. If Robert's timeless grace has stirred a memory of your favorite reel or a nudge to chase your own wild dreams, please give this video a like and subscribe for more reflections on lives that lit up the frame. It keeps the stories rolling. Thanks for being here. Until next time, hold the good ones close.